Greetings, YouTube. As I've mentioned recently in other RPG pondering videos, I've been working on an idea in my head called the 12 Races campaign. And I found myself finally getting to the point where I can start writing up some of those 12 races. And the first one I've been working on are the Elves. Now, I haven't done a full write-up yet, but I have written up their traits. And eventually, my hope is that I will have all of this in a nice, neat little PDF that I could then hand out to people who want a copy. But at the moment, this is the first stuff, this is the first draft, and I'm pretty much giving this to you close to raw. So first I'm going to give you the stats that I'm going to be using, and then I'm going to give you some of the explanation of why I'm using them and a little bit of background on the elves themselves. So this is, I'm basing this on the Pathfinder Elven race. So we're using +2 Dex, +2 Intelligence, -2 Con. They're medium. They're going to be a little taller than average. The humans in this campaign are going to be, women are going to average 5'4", and males are going to average 5'8". In the elves in this world, the females average 5'9", and the males average 6 foot. So they're significantly taller than humans. The females being taller than your average adult human male. Normal speed 30, low light vision, elven immunities per normal. Elves are immune to magic sleep effects and get a +2 racial saving throw bonus against enchantment spells and effects. Elven magic, elves receive +2 racial bonuses on casting levels made to overcome spell resistance. In addition, elves receive a +2 racial bonus on spellcraft skill checks made to identify the properties of magic items. Keen senses, they still get a +2 racial bonus on perception. Now here we enter something I've added in. Metal sensitivity. The elves in this setting are going to be very heavily influenced by the Fae. They're going to essentially be tall Fae. Elves have a severe sensitivity to ferrous metals as a consequence of their Fae heritage. For the purposes of this racial feature, the following metals are considered ferrous: cold iron, iron, steel, mithril, and adamantine. And if in contact with more than an ounce of such metal, an elf will take 1 hit point of non-lethal damage per round. This damage will lower an elf's hit point total to -1 con, but will not kill them, though they can still die from dehydration, starvation, exposure, or attack while unconscious. Once the ferrous metal is removed, the non-lethal damage heals as per normal. And quantities under an ounce cause a severe burning sensation against an elf's skin. They do not like it. They do not want to be touching these metals. Weapon familiarity. Elves are proficient with the longbows, including composite longbows, short swords, glaives, and short bows, including composite short bows, and treat any weapon with the word elven in it as a martial weapon. Languages, they get trade tongue and elven at first level, and they have access to. Actually, I have to change this because there's not going to be any orcs in my campaign. But they're going to be access to celestial, draconic, gnome, goblin. No goblins either. Gnome and sylvan. So I have to change that. Now, because they can't use metals, they have access to a few metals left: copper, the precious metals like gold, silver, platinum, and brass and bronze. Now, as a result of this, the elves have developed something they call elven bronze. Now, elven bronze is composed of copper and tin plus 1% gold. In addition, it has a very complex and secret alchemical process that turns this into a substance that has the weight and heft of bronze, but it never tarnishes. The gold gives it an unending shine to it. But it has the edge retention of steel. Unfortunately, it adds 1,000 gold pieces to the cost of a weapon if you want to have it made out of elven bronze, or in my campaign will be 1,000 silver pieces because I always use silver based. Now, this means that most elves don't ever have an item made out of elven bronze. Only the really wealthy folks, the nobles, the royals, and high-paid adventurers have access to this stuff. Everybody else uses wood, bone, sinew, things like that. However, because they can't use metals, they have come up with an alternative technology. The elves in my campaign are going to be based on biotechnology. Every elf at first level has the option of taking one of two feats. This is an option, I have to do it. The first is tree singing, which I'm ripping off from the Wheel of Time role-playing game. Take the feat, you take skill ranks in craft tree shaping, and you can literally sing to a tree and get it to spit out a wooden object, one whole wooden object. There'll be no major bendy parts in it, just a cohesive, solid piece. Without harming the tree. This also allows them to shape trees so they can live inside them without harming them. It does allow them, however, to create longbows and recurve bows that are perfect, flawless, because they're literally laying down the grain in the exact way they want the tension and reflex of the bow to have. So they're very good bows. Because of this, elves don't use composite bows. They can, they have the skill, but it's a lot like a member of the Hells Angels riding a rice rocket. It isn't going to happen. An elf using a composite bow would consider himself having shamed his race. You'd only use bows that you or your people have made from tree singing. The other first level feat they can take will be life shaping. And life shaping will use the craft life shaping skill, and life shaping is an idea I'm stealing from the 2nd edition Dark Sun setting. There was a 3.5 conversion of the life shaping book done. It's available out on the web somewhere, and it allows them to literally shape life into new forms. And most of this is done in vitro. They make the modifications in an animal. While an animal is pregnant, it gives birth to an animal that is significantly different than its parent. And they do this generation after generation. Though they can make modifications to living creatures that have already been birthed, in the case of adding or removing organs, giving them extra abilities. So there's going to be a certain biopunk aspect to the elves. You will find elves that have extraneous limbs or new abilities because they had them put on, because they like them. Now, a lot of adventurers are not going to take this because it means you're going to be tied down in one spot with a breeding program. But some of them may want to take the tree singing ability. That's pretty much anywhere there's trees, you can use that. Now, because they have this biotech base, and the fastest animals to change over generations are ones with short lifespans. And one of the best creatures to use with short lifespans, as any biological researcher will tell you, are insects. So a lot of elven technology is based on insects. And the biggest portion of their animal protein are insects. Now, they've actually been able to breed beetles that wing casings can produce blades. They have a special high silica diet, and then the wing casings are then treated with a certain process to make them hard, and they become fully functional blades. But the biggest they can get are about 18 inches. So that's short sword size. Because they're shaped like wing casings, they're a slashing weapon, not a piercing weapon. So they call them elven broadblades. But they have the same stats as a short sword. They just do slashing instead of piercing. And because of this, they can make any size from dagger blades all the way up to 18 inches. They use these for spears, long spears, glaives, short swords, and weapons based off of this. Double spears, double glaives, things like this. So if they're weapons that are not traditional to the elven culture, no halberds, no two-handed swords. An elf wants a two-handed weapon, and I use a great club. And I'll be using great club stats, which are take off on the great axe, so they'll be do a die 12 and have that the same kind of crit range and things like that. Make great clubs worth your time. And most of the elven diet is going to be plant-based. For most people, would consider elves to be vegetarians. They do, in fact, eat meat, but most of the time it's going to be either insects or eggs. They do eat birds occasionally, and while they do enjoy hunting and fishing, most of the time it's either done with non-lethal arrows just to mark them. Oh, I apologize for the noise in the background. Sorry about that. Or they use catch and release fishing. And fishing is actually a very popular hobby amongst the elves. Fly fishing in particular. Tying flies is a high art form in the elven culture. It is seen the same way that flower arranging was seen amongst the samurai in Japan. It's something that everyone indulges in and is considered to be a noble pastime. And the elves will actually wear flies on their body as jewelry, and human fishermen really value elven flies. Yes, there's actually a cross-cultural connection between elves and humans now. They both like fly fishing. So this is the basic gist I've got for the elven culture. They live in trees, they use biotechnology, they're going to have access to weird and strange animals because they've made the weird and strange animals. They're not going to be using any metal weapons except for elven bronze, and that's going to be only of the wealthy, the nobles, the royals, and high-ranking adventurers. So it's going to have a much different feel to it than your traditional elves. Their weapons are being changed to reflect that. They get access to short swords and glaives, which is a good combination. You use a glaive as a ranged weapon, then you drop it and you draw your short sword. And a short sword is a good backup weapon for an archer. Archers did not carry long swords. They carried short swords because they shouldn't be using weapons, hand weapons. They're supposed to kill the guy when he's way over there. So you want one that's not going to be weighing you down, because most of the time it's just going to be a tool. So that's the basic thrust of what I've got for the elves. I need to hammer out the details, obviously. I need to change a few things in the notes. I haven't actually finished writing them yet. But that's my first foray into actually writing up what one of the 12 races will be in the 12 races campaign idea. So I'm interested in hearing from you what you people think about my ideas. And I'm also interested in knowing, how have you used elves in a non-traditional manner? Have you done really cool things with them? Or do you prefer your elves to be bog standard? I'd be interested in knowing.